I was cracking up when I went to your house to pick up the shirts. I rung the doorbell. Mr. Moon comes out, looks through the window, and just walks away.
Like,
oh no, honey, there's another brown. There's another brown person at our doorstep. What do we do?
He was like,
Hurry up, go hide
he probably
upstairs.
was like, "Hey, the roofers across the street are knocking on the door."
They're hiring Filipinos now these days. But that's a good segue to what we're going to be talking about today. So, are you guys ready to start this podcast?
I guess.
Yeah. Oh, we're ready with
our new shirts. Hello.
All of us.
We're ready.
All right, guys, welcome to the Focus Day podcast. My name is Ben.
I am Karis.
This is Jen.
And this is Ro.
And we are sort of kind of Focused AF. I think we are. You know what? We got merch.
We went merch, had technical issues, but we're here.
Yeah.
It took a little while.
As soon as these shirts come out, we mean business when the shirts are out.
These are fancy too. These are really, really fancy.
They're really nice.
They got the nice collars. They're nice and thick. And yeah, I like it.
Good job, Karis. Karis is here for the merch.
all the merch.
If anything at all, I'll get on the bike rides just so that way I can stay this size so I don't have to buy new shirts.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I'm cheap like that.
Yeah, I was when I went to the house to pick up the shirts. I told them these are too nice. So if we just have giveaway shirts, we got to buy cheaper ones.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna leave that in the podcast or not. People need to feel like they got good quality T-shirts. You know what I mean? Yeah, but these are really nice. So when we go on the bike rides, do we wear these and just tell everyone about the podcast? Just be
sure, why not?
4 losers with the T-shirts. Well, for sure we are gonna go wear these at the
Next
Wedding
week.
MBA. What?
Oh, and next week too.
Yeah, the Build Expo.
Javit one.
Oh, so
yeah, the
I'm
B&H.
gonna try to go in the evening. I have my the Facebook course that I'm teaching. So I don't know if you guys are going there early in the morning or not. I'm gonna try to go in the early morning because I think my shoots are in the afternoons. So we'll see. One of those days I'm in Brooklyn.
We would definitely be there supporting Sharon from Fiore Films.
Mm-hmm.
She would be at the Nikon booth speaking alongside Jerry Gionis.
Are we going to buy ice something? Fill in the blank?
No, I'm not.
I already gave that man so much money already. So, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I need to save money for these T-shirts. Yeah, we should wear these T-shirts at the expo. Yeah,
yes,
that's what I'll do.
Wherever
sure.
we go, I guess.
I was talking about our fun experience this weekend.
Oh yeah,
let's talk about this
Went to the
weekend's
Rebels game.
fun stuff. You guys go first.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes into this topic of conversation today because these tickets to this game were not cheap.
Really?
Oh,
But-
yeah. How was it?
It was good.
Yeah.
They sat Messi out for 2/3 of the game. So, everyone was starting to get upset, and then they brought him into the game and he scores a goal right away. So it
scored
was
a goal in the last minute of the game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It felt like he was only playing for such a short time, but he played about 30 minutes.
But yeah, tickets, I mean, I didn't pay this, but the highest price for tickets for that game were about $20,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Just to give you a general idea of those same seats for just a regular Red Bull game against another regular, when Messi's not playing there, those tickets are $60.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
And they were
gosh.
going for $20,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it was an experience. It was a blast. We had a great time.
Mhm.
We went with Richard and Andrea, so that was fun. And seeing them
Mhm.
their son's first soccer game. It was the first time Andrea's brother saw Messi play. He's from Argentina too, so he was very emotional. And
Mhm.
as we were leaving, Time Magazine stopped us to interview, and they interviewed him, and he was just sharing about how it was one of the biggest moments of his life to be there. So it was really really good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It was fun.
You guys want to hear what I was up to this weekend?
I kind of have an idea, but tell us.
So, this past weekend, I was working at a very beautiful venue. They have very nice manicured lawns and gardens and fountains and things like that, right? And I was aware of this fountain when I came on site. Actually, I'm very aware of fountains whenever I arrive on site. Doesn't matter where I go, right? And for whatever reason, while I was working, doing portraits, and I was backing up, and I felt this short little hedge, maybe about a foot high, right? I was like, all right, I'll just step over it, because it was the same height as all the other hedges in that garden, right? So when I stepped over it, I hear a big splash, and I fall into the fountain.
Wait, so you were going forward this time?
No, I was going backwards. What kind of idiot falls forward into a fountain?
I mean, you might. How do you fall like going? How do you still keep going backwards, Ben Lau?
Yeah, I mean,
That's the second time.
that fountain there is a pretty good 2 feet of off the ground to hop onto it.
Fall. That's what I was like.
Well, I stumbled. I didn't fall on my ass in there. I stumbled in there I got my only one foot got wet from the knee down. So that's what it was. So thankfully, I had a second shooter go out and give me some new pants. I thought that I had pants in my car. The funny story is I do have spare set of clothes in my car, usually, because this has happened before, as you guys so graciously divulged to everyone. This has happened before, right? So after that incident, I always keep a spare set of pants in the car, just in case there's a spill or maybe it rained or whatever it is. I have some dry clothes that I can change into. But unfortunately, Karis was also shooting that day, so she took that car. So I didn't have any extra clothes. So I sent my second out to go to Target to get me some new pants. And that's when I realized that, because I told him what my size was. I told him to go get me a size, and it came back and it was way too tight. So I was like, shit, I am going to have to get back to the gym this week. Maybe go
What
easy.
you should have did was you should have sent your second shooter to Kohl's, because they make bigger clothes.
Yeah, well, I'm not that
sizes.
fat, man. I just gave him the wrong size. They have my size at Target.
Ben was not aware how much pounds he weight gained.
I only gained 5 pounds. It's not that crazy. It's not that crazy. So anyway,
how does 5 pounds make you a different size? I don't get it.
Anyway, it did.
Is it on your belly?
Yeah,
it should be 10 pounds. That really makes a difference.
Plus to be a different size. So weird.
Anyway,
lying.
Yeah. So anyway, he came back. I didn't really miss very much. I just continued shooting with wet clothes, so that wasn't too bad. But the first time I ever fell into a fountain, it was a disaster. And there's probably video somewhere out there on the internet of me falling into the fountain. But my entire body was submerged. I was basically, my head went in and everything. It was a disaster. And
wait, your head went in that one?
Yeah, man. My entire body, my cameras, everything went in. And
fell on his butt.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. We have video proof of that one, because I was fighting with the video guy the whole day, and I guess this was my payback. He saw me, watch me falling slow-mo into the fountain. He didn't even bother saving me or giving me a heads up. So, but anyway, Karis got me, and I think I told this story before. I sent Karis out to get me some new clothes at Target, also at Target, and she came back like 2 hours later. This Target was really far away, and I'm not going to complain too much, but she got the most ridiculous outfit that she could find. Polka dots and everything. The tightest pants ever.
I remember you telling me. She knew it was going to be payback.
So I was like, I can't.
She came back. She said, this is all they had.
Polka dots and tight ass pants. What am I going to do? I can't say anything.
Be happy they weren't pink, okay?
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my weekend. That's what I did this weekend. Karis also shot this weekend. Do you have any stories this weekend, babe?
Yes, actually, I do. I actually was telling the video guy about our podcast, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm gonna start a podcast too, right?" And he goes, "You could be my guest when I, eventually start it, right?" And I was like, "Oh, what is your podcast gonna be about?" He said it's about what is it? How do you say it? Paranormal
Activities.
Yep. So he's gonna do paranormal activity and pizza. So he's going to visit all these haunted places. So he's obsessed with haunted places. So he's going to go to all these haunted places and have pizza and then have a conversation and wait for stuff to happen. I was like,
It's a podcast for everything, man.
Good luck.
Right?
Good luck with your podcast.
And then I was telling him about the haunted place you were recently at. What is it? Monteverde at. And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "I'm gonna go there, and you're gonna be my guest at that venue." I was like, "Okay."
Do they have pizza
And you're
there?
gonna bring the pizza, Karis.
Yeah, it was so funny. And then I was like, maybe my husband will come because he likes pizza, but but yeah, he was very happy about his ghost pizza podcast. Like, okay. Yeah, he's a new video guy. He launched it during COVID.
That's right. Okay. Well, best of luck to you, random video guy. Wish you much success on your podcast. Hopefully, you don't have as many problems as we do.
Is the name going to be Paranormal Pizza?
I don't know what's the name going to be.
Sounds like an 80s. Sounds like an 80s. Horror movie series.
But this guy actually has like really interesting stories because before he was a wedding video person, he was in like some kind of boy band. He almost had a deal with Big Time, like TV show. I don't know, like movie deal. And I don't know. He was telling like me and MJ like the whole life story and how he ended up being what he's doing now. I was like, okay.
Oh, damn. He's like Al Bundy from Married with Children.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
He always talked about his glory days in every episode, and he ended up turning out to be a shoe salesman instead of playing for the NFL.
Yep. I was like, okay. That was
one more piece of tea that I'll share with you guys, and I think this will transition well into the topic of today. So, as Ro mentioned earlier, he stopped by to pick up the t-shirts, to pick up the merch, right? And what did you see? You saw the workers across the street replacing the roof, right?
Right. Yeah. There's a whole crew. Yeah, like 10 guys.
How was the condition of the roof that you saw? Like the underneath part?
Oh man, like they were putting new plywood on the whole front of the roof, but you can see where the soffit where it was all rotted out, the whole roof.
Okay. So for those of you guys who have been following me for the last year or so, I've been talking about my neighbor who's been trying to sell her house, right? The house was on the market for like 2 years. And for a while, especially up here in the New York City area, a lot of folks from the city were moving into the suburbs, right? Just coming to our neighborhood and just buying up all the houses. And this really jacked up all the prices in our neighborhood. I mean, I'm going to be staying in this neighborhood for a little while longer anyway. Actually, a lot longer, probably, right? So I got nothing to complain about, because that makes our real estate values go up. So eventually, the prices for the homes in my neighborhood, it skyrocketed all the way up to like $800,000 for, it's not a small home. Let's say like it's 3,500 or 4,000 square feet, right? And to buy a home like that, you're looking at around 800,000, at least a couple of years ago, right? So my neighbor decided that she was going to try to sell her home for that price as well. But the thing is, and actually, the Molinas actually looked at our neighborhood as well. And some of these houses are just way too much house for even 2 people and 2 dogs, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of house. There's a lot of maintenance, a lot of utilities. Even if I did offer them free Wi-Fi, I was like, yo, you want to be my neighbor? I'll give you my Wi-Fi password. They didn't bite. So in any case, she had the house on the market for 2 years. The price kept going lower and lower and lower and lower. And for the longest time, I said, she's probably overpriced. Number one, she missed the market, right? But number two, there are a lot of homes in our neighborhood which are fully renovated. They're all modernized. They got all the appliances updated. Everything is brand new, right? You've got an old house. You've got like a 150-year-old house that needs a lot of work, right? So I was like, you can't expect market price for this home because you don't have a market level home. You know what I mean? You have so many other options in the market. Why would you try to get market price for that? It's not going to work. You got to go below market price. Because, whoever ends up buying your home, they need to put in at least another $100,000 just to make it the way that they want it. So anyway, we have a new neighbor now. I guess my old neighbor finally sold a house, I don't know, earlier this year for like 600 something, right? And come to find out, as Ro discovered, and I discovered this morning as well, that the new roof was just like a patch-up job, right? They were basically putting lipstick on a pig, right? They wanted the nice curb appeal, but everything behind the walls, under the roof, it's just a big giant mess, right? And not only that, there were some drainage issues because just last week, my new neighbor, he dug a giant trench from the house to the street, to drain the rainwater. So he was getting a lot of water in the basement. The moral of this story is when you are pricing your product or service or whatever it is, right? You have to know what you have in front of you and then price it accordingly. The consumers are smart these days. They're very savvy. They know, or rather they have an expectation of roughly what they're willing to spend. Unless you can kind of show them or demonstrate to them why you're more expensive than the market, they're not going to buy. And that's why this particular neighbor, she struggled for 2 years to sell her home because what she was offering was well below what the market was already offering, and she was pricing it way higher than what it was worth. And I see that struggle with a lot of business owners these days. The product is not quite ready for market, or maybe it's a little below what the market is already offering, and also they're pricing themselves a lot higher than what they're really worth. Anyway, that's my little soapbox, and I think it segues nicely into what we're talking about today, which is pricing.
Perfect. So speaking of pricing, tell us how you guys price yourself as a beginner.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you guys. Actually, I think we did share this. We shot our first wedding for $400, and it was just a random number that I put out. I was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna pay me $400?" Because at the time, I think I was making maybe $500 a week at the chicken factory, 40 hours a week, making $500 a week, right? And here you have someone who's going to pay me $400 to shoot for 6 hours, 8 hours, or whatever it was. I thought I was, that I had struck gold, $400 to shoot a wedding. So that was all random, which is $400. I didn't have any basis for that. It was just a number that I threw out. Because I didn't have any photographer friends. We didn't have any photographer friends back then. So it was just a number that we threw out that we thought, I was like, okay, if they pay this, then I guess we're good. And really, I think we put that number out just to make sure that we covered our travel. I think that was it.
This was the one in Maryland? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one that was.
So it was like a destination thing too.
Yeah,
from New Jersey to Maryland. Yeah. So
I
spent
paid
maybe
for basically your gas.
Yeah, we paid $200. I mean, $200 just in gas and tolls. $200. So really, in my pocket, maybe $200. So that includes the coverage and the editing and the prints, the editing time.
You gave prints too, Ben?
I always.
You actually paid them.
DVDs.
And we had DVDs too. Yeah. And that was my first wedding.
DVDs too.
Yeah, that was my first, very, very, very first wedding. So there was no basis. I was just charging what people were willing to pay. Actually, I was like, I think when I first started, I was like, well, how much you want to pay me? I didn't really have a price, but knowing that there were people out there who were willing to pay me $250 for a family session. By the way, these family sessions were 8 hours long. These are
why?
Yeah, because I don't know. I just spent the whole day with them.
All day long.
Then I was like, you know what? I don't think I need 8 hours.
Tired?
I don't think I need 8 hours. I think I could do it in 4.
I don't think Ben, I think he did more of baby infant shoots. No, that was
I did a lot
8
of infant
hours.
shoots. Yeah, those are much longer. The families, the kids are falling asleep in the session at this point. Been going for so long.
You're hungry, tired. What?
I didn't know any better. My engagement sessions used to be 6 hours long, and then almost that's half the amount of coverage for the wedding day. You know what I mean? And we would have these couples do we really need a 6-hour engagement session?
Oh my God. And how many images do you deliver after a 6-hour engagement session?
200, something like that. 150, 200, something like that, right?
You can do that in an hour and a half.
Well, now I do. Now I do because I actually know what I'm doing now, right? But back then, I was, the thing was I was trying to be as generous as possible. And when you first start out, I think you ought to be as generous as possible. You haven't earned the right to pick and choose, I guess. You haven't earned your work-life balance. And I know a lot of people preach that work-life balance, but I think when you're first starting out, you haven't quite earned that yet. You know what I mean? That is something that you earn. At least that's my take anyway. I mean, what do you guys think?
I guess I got to this point where now I do work-life balance.
Right. But when you first started, you probably edited till middle of the night.
You need to preach it to yourself, Ben Lau.
What? Work-life balance?
Work-life balance.
I'm pretty balanced.
No, I heard you on your live last night saying, I'm going live on Labor Day.
That's not a real holiday.
There's no kids. There's no family for Ben Lau.
What are we gonna
Like,
do on
yes,
Labor
it
Day?
is a holiday.
What are you doing on Labor Day?
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
See? Barbecue. That's first thing on people's mind.
That's not a real
Yes,
holiday.
Ben.
I take off 3 days
That's
a year.
why
Okay.
Ben is on the live by himself when it's a holiday.
You know what? Next Monday, not only will there be a live, that's day 1 of my course, my Facebook ads course. I'm going. Actually, there's a coaching call there too, so I'm going to be working for at least 3 hours next Monday. So, but
Anyway,
listen,
Labor Day is
thing
a real
is-
holiday.
the thing is, I show up even when people might not. The fact is, I'm just showing up. And we take long vacations. Everyone in our circle knows that the Lau family takes long vacations. So we definitely do it up when we are taking breaks. As far as work-life balance goes, I went to the gym this morning. I had some me time. That for me, that's work-life balance. You know what I mean?
You always have
No
your me
fun.
time.
No fun.
You should have some me time. And I hang out with you guys once every week, for an hour or two. So, I mean, that's my personal time as well. I enjoy that time. Anyway, I think
It's
we've gotten
work.
off topic. I think we're straying off topic a little bit, right? We're talking about pricing.
Yeah, it's become lecture Ben time.
It's become an intervention.
Yes. Scrap the whole episode. We're talking about work-life balance. No.
So anyway, as far as pricing goes, I think you should be a little bit more generous when you first start out, right? And then as you get to a certain level in your work, then you can start peeling back a little bit. And I think that's what we did over the years, especially for the first 5 years. We were like super duper generous. We did full day coverage. We did these 6-hour engagement sessions. We did prints of the colors and the black and whites. I think everyone got a poster print. They got everything, man. And then as we progressed through the years, we started pulling back on the hours of coverage. That was one of the first things that we cut. And then we got rid of the prints. I was like, because the thing was, let's say you have a wedding with 1,000 frames, right? So you have 1,000 color and 1,000 black and white. 2,000 prints. I mean, you get them at Costco. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive. But the thing is, like, what the hell are they going to do with prints of their shoes, or prints of
Right.
prints of
So
these
you were making
candidates?
prints of every single photo you delivered?
Every
The
single
whole
photo.
gallery was,
Yep.
boxes and
You just
boxes.
showed up with like a print box?
Yes,
Pretty much.
boxes and boxes of,
I did.
Yep.
Yeah, I did. And that's when I realized, you know what? People don't need 2,000 prints. They might only need
No.
a handful to put up on the walls, right? And actually, that's more green. It's more intentional what they pick out to print and whatnot. So we got rid of the prints and now we had the ability to sell the prints online because before we didn't, right? So once we found a platform that allowed us to sell the prints online, that's when we removed the prints.
Yeah, and it adds more value because when you're giving 2,000 printed photos, it's like overwhelming and it's like, whatever. But if you're curated a little bit better, like we do now with like albums and wall art, it has more value.
But yeah, you're right. You want to be more
Mm-hmm.
intentional with what you're giving to the client, so that way it's not overwhelming, and they kind of, you give them too much, right? They might not value it. But on the flip side of that, we did have some clients that I did this for family sessions. They're like, "Oh, you don't give out prints anymore?" I was like, "No, we don't." It's like, "Oh man." And I think that was the last time I shot them. What, we don't get a DVD anymore? I was like, no, we don't send out DVDs anymore. It's like, oh man, But also, as you do this for many years, what you'll find is that your referral pool changes, right? Your client pool changes. The client profile changes a little bit, The budgets start getting a little healthier. You're able to charge a little bit more. That's kind of the natural evolution of things. At least that's the hope, right? You get to charge a little bit more because hopefully you're also providing a better product or a better service. You know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. And that's a tricky thing too, I think, when you have a pool of people that you've been with for years. So we're going through this now because we've transitioned to the IPS model and it's going great for weddings, but now we're trying to loop in family portraits and stuff and changing that completely. Everyone's used to getting their full gallery. That's what they want. Like, they want their 50 photos from their engagement session, from their portrait session. So we definitely lost some past clients because of that. We did book a family session a couple of weeks ago, and I guess he didn't understand what was actually included. He thought where it said like 10 downloads that it was something additional to the full gallery. So when he had his pre-consult call with our IPS team, he was like shocked about what the process was going to be. And he was like, I just want the images. And cancel this session, which is fine. Like,
I think there's a communication problem up front, maybe.
Right. I mean, I outlined it everything before when we were communicating via email. It's not no stress off of my back. But I think with families, you have to hit a more niche clientele of people who really value having something tangible, something in print, in an album or wall art. And you have to attract people who maybe are doing this for the first time. So they think it's the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And not someone who every year gets their family photos taken and gets all the files and then does nothing with them and then that's it. But that's what they want to keep doing, which is fine. That everyone has their thing, but
There's a product
I'm
for every
totally
market.
recognizing the fact that I'm going to lose people.
Yeah, there's a product for every market. There's a service for every market. You're not going to be the right fit for everyone who comes in through the door. And I think that's another struggle that many folks have when they're marketing themselves. You're not going to be able to serve everyone. Your product is not designed for everyone. And they think that if it's cheap enough, then everyone will buy it. But the thing is, even if you're like a penny, if your product is not something that they want, they're not going to pay it. So pricing wise, so that's what Ben Lau did. We started off really cheap. Every year, I think I raised it like $300, give or take. It's kind of my way of giving myself a raise. Yeah, but every year I usually raise it anywhere between $300 to $500, and it's been pretty consistent in the last 13 years that I've been in business. I'm at a point in my packaging where I have no more than I can take away, no more than I can take out, right? Coverage wise, I'm good. There's always going to be a second shooter. There's always going to be a gallery. There's always going to be the copyright release, all that stuff. There's always going to be an engagement session. That stuff is non-negotiable. It's always in there. And this year, like you guys, now we have an album that's in there. That's non-negotiable, right? So now we're at a point where we're adding stuff now. We're adding more value and adding more stuff because, the clients are paying a little bit more, so they should receive a little bit more.
Okay, so what I was saying was when you start out, you have your price, whatever the case may be. When did you start figuring out, okay, this is when I'm going to start increasing it and by how much? Because I remember when we started, the photo education world, they had this thing where it was like every 3 weddings, you increase $300. And at some point, you got to reach a max and you still don't have like that much experience. Because if like you book 20 in a year, where is your pricing going?
That is a great
astronomical
question. That is a great question. My prices were not raised on the anniversary of anything. It really just came down to 2 things. The first one was my inquiry volume, how much work was coming in, okay? Or rather, how many people were trying to hire me, right? And then the second factor, whether I was going to raise my price or not, was how much of that traffic was converting into clients, right? So I had to look at inquiry volume and my closing rate. Once I get them into the meeting, how many of them are saying, yeah, this guy's worth it? And we're going to book him. And the goal that I had was to make sure that I was somewhere around that 50% range. If everyone who came in through the door said, I'm going to book you, sounds good. Everything sounds good, right? That means I was too cheap. I had room to raise my rates, right? So that could happen after 15 weddings. That could happen after 30 weddings, right? If I was getting no resistance whatsoever, this told me that I had the flexibility to raise my rates. Okay. But before I did that, I had to make sure that I had enough value to maintain the number of bookings that I wanted for myself each year. Right. So there is another method that's being taught out there that I have heard before. Like, okay, well, let's say that you want to earn $100,000 a year, right? Well, work backwards. How many weddings do you want to shoot a year? Right. And then that's what number you should have. Right. I'm like, that's the most dumbest piece of advice I've ever heard in my life. Because what if I only want to work 10 weddings a year, right? And I want to make 6 figures, that means I got to charge 10 grand each, right? But what if your work's not worth 10 grand? You know what I mean? So you got to be realistic with all those numbers, right? So for me, I was like, well, all right, right now I'm at 3 grand. And for me to hit 6 figures, I need to be at about 33 weddings, right? But right now I'm at about 40. So this tells me that my inquiry volume is healthy enough for me to hit 30 some weddings a year. What I was doing was tracking my conversions throughout my entire funnel, because you guys probably know this already. A lot of our listeners know this already. I've come from the world of sales, and you have to track your funnel, right? How many people are coming in, and at each conversion point, how many are actually converting, right? And depending on what those numbers look like, you'll know exactly what you need to tweak, right? Whether it's a messaging or technique or lead sources or whatever it is, right? And that's what I was paying attention to. So that's, so anytime I raise my rates, it's because I was closing a healthy amount of them that were coming in, and I had enough volume to support the raise. All right. So if my goal was 30 and I was hitting 40, that means I could raise. So let me give you, I'll throw some numbers at you, right? So let's say that I'm closing 50%, right? People that come in through the door, I'm closing at 50%, right? And if I'm doing 40 weddings a year, that means I need 80 appointments a year. Okay. Do I have enough inquiries to do 80 appointments a year? Right. So out of all the people who email me, not everyone's going to ask for an appointment. I probably need 120, 150 leads. Right. So if I have 120, 150 leads coming in, that means I'm good to go. I can raise my rates if I wanted to. Right. But if I don't have that volume, let's say I only have like 10 leads coming in, even though I'm closing at 100%, right? If I only have 10 leads coming in every year, now is not the time to be raising the prices. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the trap that a lot of people fall into. Like, hey, this person paid me $10,000 this one time, so I'm worth $10,000. So now I'm a $10,000 wedding photographer. But the thing is, their lead volume doesn't support that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Their inquiry
Mhm.
volume doesn't.
No.
Like, what? Now you're going to shoot 3 weddings a year at 10 grand? I mean, it looks good on paper. And they say, oh, I'm a $10,000 wedding photographer. But the truth of the matter is, you're making way less than someone who's charging maybe 3 grand or 4 grand for coverage.
Mhm.
Then you need to factor in expenses because you're not going to charge $400 and then spend $200 in travel. So
Mhm.
that I think has to come into increasing your pricing too about like actual business expenses.
Of course, $400
don't
way
think
too
of
cheap.
that, I
I
feel
won't
like.
argue that. $400 way too cheap.
Well,
Yeah.
that's just the example. But I mean, like if you're charging, let's say $2,000, $2,500 for a wedding or whatever, but you're like shooting 12 hours. That's figure out the cost of labor, then the travel to get there, how much time you're spending in editing, the cost of your CRM, your gallery host,
Mhm.
your
How much time you spend like dealing with that client as well.
Mhm.
If you factor in one of the things I remember talking to someone that we know who was a planner, we were talking about like we were comparing hours to see how many hours they spend with a client versus a photographer. And I think we were like with a wedding day, editing, what would we say? We'd be like 20, 25. They spend like 80 to 100 hours invested in every client.
Hmm.
So, their price tags for full planning might seem like it's very steep. But once you start factoring all the hours and then time spent like visiting venues and stuff, it's insane.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
anyway, you heard what we've been charging, or rather what I've been charging. We'll go into Karis in a little bit, right? But you guys heard how we raised our prices and how we changed up our offerings and all that good stuff, right? So how about you guys? Let's hear about how you guys started and how you guys decided to, or rather the method that you guys used to start raising your rates, and how you guys factored all of that stuff into that decision making process.
Is it weird that I said I don't know?
No, I mean we
Like, I
we kind of
remember-
had
I remember what we started at, which is very. I found
Yeah.
our old price sheet, and I'll probably share it on the Focus AF Instagram.
it was more.
But I can't remember like why I went from one number to the next.
I think what was happening was as we were shooting more and more weddings, and at first we were just making it like very appealing that the price itself lured the potential client in. And then once we started actually doing the work and actually going out there shooting the wedding, editing, we started to realize how much more work it was. So what we started to do is the more we booked, then we just started raising our price slowly. We wanted to book as many weddings as we were able to, but also not at a price point that we're killing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So at a higher price point.
Right.
Yeah, we were doing the reverse, like as many but at higher price, as opposed to as few as at a higher price.
Right.
At what price point were you guys finally feeling like, okay, we can do this for a living? We have enough volume here. We can quit our day jobs. This is enough money for us. We can live off of this. How much were you guys charging?
I'm not sure if it was more of a price point than more of a annual salary.
Mhm.
Like how much the business was bringing in.
Right. Like those
Opposed
two
to what we
combined.
were
Like, what
charging.
was the volume? What was the volume and what was your price point?
I think so. I guess our metric would be when Jen went full time.
Yeah,
Right?
that was 2016.
Yeah. So we decided that when the business brought in enough or around the same as what Jen was making on salary, then she would take the jump first.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I think we were only doing like 15 weddings a year, 15, 20 weddings.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually keep track of this because I'm crazy. In 2016, we only had 19 weddings.
Yeah. See, I was close.
At an average of like 4,000.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's sensational.
So actually, I mean, it wasn't like where we're at now to be like But we felt comfortable enough
That's like
for
80
me to
grand.
leave.
That's 80 grand. That's nice. That's good.
Right.
You can
So
live off of
that's
that.
what we determined. Like with expenses, like the business expenses plus what Jen's salary would be, we would have to make that through the photography business. And once the photography business was on pace to make that, Jen left her job.
Yeah. I was looking at it more on a weekly basis. Like, as long as I can cover my chicken salary, my chicken factory salary, which wasn't even all that much, I was like, I'm out of here. And that was a pretty low bar to pass, $500 a week. So I was like,
no, but I mean that's pretty much what I was making. I think my job, I worked for a nonprofit, so I was making about 45, 50. Which is it's like a weird thing when you start your own business. You get stuck in this mindset of this. I think this is a big thing with pricing with people too, is that when you have a full-time job that doesn't pay you a lot, you think it's okay to, when you start your business, to charge as low as you do because it might be a little bit more than what you're making already.
Yeah, but they don't factor in certain things.
And you're just like, oh, I mean, I made $500 in one day for 12 hours of work. That's great. To 40 hours in a week. But then you still don't realize that you're selling yourself a little bit short.
Yeah. My dollar per hour, it's hard to say. I was just looking, because like the only thing that I didn't take into consideration was, the hours of work that went into it. Like I was just looking at the week to week, right? Like I was definitely putting in more hours, but I was also making more money, right? So, I was okay. Like, as long as I wasn't burning myself out. Like I have been burnt out before from being overworked. So I kind of know what the telltale signs are, and I know when I need to pump the brakes. But with this, like I really enjoyed this. You know what I mean? Like the going out there, meeting people and shooting people and stuff. I really enjoyed it. So for me, it didn't feel like work like it was in the chicken factory. You know what I mean? So I don't think I minded putting in the hours to do this.
Yeah. I think we
fine.
get stuck in that track now, that mindset now too. When you don't realize, like sometimes when I like finish my to-do list for the day and then I'm like, I'm bored. Let me go do something for work because I enjoy it. So it's just like, but you're not keeping track of the extra time that you're putting into it because you actually are enjoying it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many hours I worked this week. I just do it because I enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of
a lot.
I think that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You do things.
Loves work.
you do the thing you do because you love it. I don't do it because I love money or anything like that. I do it. I genuinely enjoy what I do. Teaching and shooting and editing, all that stuff. I love it. So I'm very lucky to get to do this for a living.
Yeah.
So Karis is actually very different from all of us because she didn't start from the bottom.
Yes, I did.
Now, when you
she
launch your
started
brand,
from the top.
She started.
I know,
she started
but
from the
not
top.
with my own brand. But my skills, my magic is from plus 10 years. 10
What was your
plus years
first? Babe,
of experience.
what was your first package? What did you start at? $4,000?
Yeah, 4, and then I went to 45.
Very quickly.
100. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Because you started in a time where everyone was booking like crazy. So you're like, all right.
Yep.
Oh, that is also true.
Yeah.
That is also true. There was a scarcity.
There was an abundance of work.
There was an abundance of work and a scarcity of talent. Now it's the other way around. There's an abundance of talent and a scarcity of work.
How many times did you increase your pricing since starting, Karis?
I think 3-4 times now.
Yo, she went from 4,000. Now she's 6,300.
Ooh, go Karis.
In what, 2 years?
Does that include thank you magnets?
That includes the album. Who wants magnets these days? What are we, 1950s?
Ben Law clients clearly do. Ben Law clients clearly love magnets. Yeah. But what factored into your decision-making process when you raised your rates?
The final raise happened because of our IPS. I was charging my hourly rate so I think I decided to raise before the IPS because I was charging a lot for my elopements. And that hourly rate, didn't make sense with my 10-hour packages. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll raise.
So you had to match them up.
I didn't really. Well, my hourly rate for elopements are still higher than my 10-hour package or 8-hour packages, but that's just shorter. And
as it should be. I think when people book you for more hours, there should be some discounts built
and if
in.
they want to take up, my prime Saturday day with like 3 to 5 hours, then they should. And if you don't want it, they don't want it. So, because elopements are still, because not my main, I guess, gig, my 8-hour, 10 hours wedding package is still the, my main bread and butter. So, if they want to book me, they book me. If they don't, they don't. So, and when they do, I love it.
That's her take it or leave it price. Take it or leave it. This is all I'm going to give you. Okay.
That's my approach with everything. This is me. Take it or leave it.
I am Hey Karis.
Do you know who I am? I'm Karis effing Lau. This is my price. Take it or leave it.
Yes.
Have you ever tracked like your yearly averages to see like how much you've been increasing every year? Yeah.
Well, Ben was always very, very cautious about raising his rates. I don't know. I don't track anything. Numbers not my thing.
I could. I mean, that number's very easy. That number's very easy for me to find. I just need to go to the CRM, punch in some numbers, and I can get the averages, right? But I also know that that I've been steadily raising my rates for the past 13 years. So I know that average has gone up.
Yeah.
That's the same as us. Like, there's no set number of what we want to charge per wedding. Like, I mean, the easiest way people tell you to determine that is how much you need to make a year, and then how many weddings you want to shoot a year, and that determines what your average should be. But I feel like there's a little bit more to that. Like that's kind of like a standard formula to have. That also doesn't factor in the market that you're in, and also like how sought out you are.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into pricing too. And it's not just those raw numbers themselves, right? You have to look at how the market is responding to your work. You have to look and see what your skills are as a marketer, as a salesperson, because the thing is, even if you have the best product in the world, right? You have the best product in the world. If you can't sell it, you can't market it, you don't have a really viable business. On the other hand, you can have a shitty portfolio, right? And you can be the best salesperson in the world. I'm sure you guys see this all the time. Like, how is this motherfucker like making more money than me? His work sucks, right? I'm sure you guys think that every time you see my work.
You know what? I stopped thinking that years ago. I stopped like judging that type of like seeing people's work and thinking like that. I did it a lot more when we were starting out, because I was hungry and I felt like our work was on par, if not better than what well-established people in our areas were charging. Now, I'm just like you said, I'm sure that people say the same about us, but there's not, you also don't factor in that person's experience, how long their business had been established in that region. Like, there's so many factors to come in, and the easiest one is to blame them for like, oh my God, they're ripping people off. I'm better than them. Why nobody's charging you? When in reality, you should be blaming yourself because you're not doing enough work to get to that level.
Right.
And a lot of them now too, how the new trend of photography that we all know and that we've seen, like the blurry editorial look. Sure. So many photographers have increased their pricing because they're able to meet that need. And like, they know people want it. So they're like, all right, we know a couple of photographers that charge like $15,000. And it's because they're able to attract this wider audience of people that want that specific look. So I mean, more power to them. Like, I understand they know how to speak to the market, and that's how they're getting that traction and getting that kind of price for their work.
Supply and demand too. They're probably getting a lot of leads, a lot of inquiries, and they can't take them all. So they still need to make whatever they need to make a year. So they're going to price themselves to weed out so many of those inquiries.
At least, I don't know if I'm going to get any smoke for this, right? But I'm always from the belief that you should just mind your own business, right? Just do things on your terms, do things your way. Don't even look and see what other people are charging, what they're doing, right? You do you, right? And I think that's part of the reason why Karis has found so much success in her own business, because she doesn't really care what other people are doing. She's marching to the beat of her own drummer, okay? She's doing her own thing. She's not following anyone. People are following her. They're trying to figure out what the hell she's doing. I'm trying to figure out what the hell she's doing. You know what I mean?
That's what's so funny. So this weekend I shot with our one of our lead shooter, MJ, right? She was shooting with me, and reception comes. She asks, she's like, so what kind of lights do you set up, right? I was like, this is it, nothing. She's like, what? And you get those photos with this light? I was like, yeah. She's like, what? Really? She was so amazed. I was like, yeah, Ben sets up a lot of lights, but I don't. This is it. This is what I should.
She does her own thing. She doesn't care. You know what I mean? She does care, but she's doing her own thing. That's the thing, right? She's running her own business. She's not digging her nose into other people's business. Because there's a lot of folks out there that are like, all right, well, what are you charging? You know, what? How many clients are you getting a year? And how are you doing this? How are you doing that? Blah, 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 right? Like, Karis, she has no interest in any of that.
But I think I am also fortunate where I have your brand, you're making, you have your own bookings, and, PPS got their own bookings. So I'm like a third income source. So I think I have that luxury of, being
taking more
picky
risks.
and
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Because
Karis goes to MJ. Your flash is pointing to the ceiling. It's supposed to point forward.
No,
This is how you light anything.
But this venue, it's like all outdoors. Everything is outdoors.
Mhm.
So your flash need to face forward.
I've seen some people bounce the flash
See-
outside. I'm like, what the hell are you bouncing off of? The sky?
Yeah.
From the building.
That's why your photos are black.
Scenarios, a scenario like that, I would bust out LEDs and stuff like that. Just because I'm the technical side of me is just like, no, like I have to do this.
Mhm.
And it's a curse too to be like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's good that you've been able to launch your brand like that and be able to be risky because you have the experience and the years under you. It's like, now it's time to do me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do it how I want, price how I want, shoot how I want, and take it or leave it.
And the clients like it. Whatever it is that you're producing, the client knows what they're getting and they love it.
Yeah, they like being told what to do by Karis Lau,
Yeah. I can't.
Do you?
No, I have to do what they say. Nobody likes Ben Lau clients for some reason. I'm okay.
No, I meant, do you like being told what to do by Karis Lau?
Oh, I don't tell him what to do. He doesn't tell me what to do. We don't talk.
I don't tell Karis. Yeah.
Who are you?
Well, as far as the business stuff goes, I mean, we'll talk to one another, but for the most part, she does her thing and I do my thing. And even if she does something that I disagree with and vice versa, we stay in our own lanes. And I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, right? Like, she has her thing, I have my thing. It's all good. But the thing is, when it comes to business or parenting or life or anything like that, there are a lot of areas where Karis and I are perfectly aligned. So the arguments or the disagreements are very far and few between. So, I mean, we've been running a business together for like a long time. All right. So there's a lot of things.
Karis's way and only way. I'm the king of the house.
King of the castle. So, what have you guys done or have been doing? And I think we've all kind of implemented this in the past year or so. How have you kind of shown more value in your work, and what kind of offerings have you started to include to kind of be more than just like, here's your files, that's it? Like, what kind of value are you starting to add to your business to help with the pricing that you're at now?
Well, I mean, I think for the first 10 years, or 8 years rather, the first 8 years, we've always been very personable with our clients, right? The experience was never transactional, right? But what happened during those 8 years was that we weren't shooting for ourselves. We were really shooting for the client. So whatever they wanted, we produced for them. And what we changed up in 2018, and I think this was a welcome change, especially for Karis as well. We didn't want to burn out. And part of the reason why there might have been burnout on the horizon was because, now we were stuck in a job that was a paycheck. We didn't really find the same amount of enjoyment that we had when we first started. So starting in 2018, we started shooting for ourselves. And this allowed us to, I guess, present the best version of ourselves in our work. And I think that's part of the reason why Karis has been so successful in the last 2 years. She's doing things her way. And the hope is that you'll like whatever it is that she offers. We're not trying to put square pegs into round holes. So the offering that we gave wasn't necessarily something that was tangible, like albums or engagement sessions or anything like that, right? It was more of how we were able to connect with our target audience in a meaningful way, right? We ourselves became the offering, not the work itself. Like Karis was what you were getting. Not Karis's work, but Karis herself. Same thing with Ben.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I think because of the uniqueness of the offering, because there's only going to be one Karis Lab, there's only going to be one Ben Lab, there's only going to be one JR photo, right? Because of the uniqueness of that offering, you can't find it anywhere else. You know, you can charge a little bit more for it, especially if it aligns with what the clients are looking for, right? So that's how we've been able to improve the offerings, I think. You know, we've leaned in a little bit more into what we were about as photographers, as human beings, and made the experience a lot less transactional that way, you know? And now the conversation is no longer one where you're comparing apples to apples. Now you're comparing apples to oranges, right? There's no other Ben Lau, there's no other Karis Lau, there's no other JR photo, right? If you want that experience, that look, that everything, right? Well, this is the price that you're going to have to pay. And I think most people are on board with that, especially if, you know, what you're offering is aligned with what they're looking for. Do you agree with that? Disagree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we run our business very similar to that too.
And I think it has to reflect in multiple ways before you even get to that meeting, because I think the struggle people come up with is they don't realize what you're actually offering until they're in the experience. If you're not showing it beforehand through your website, through your communication, emailing people back right away, kind of really portraying your personality in your email, on your website, on your social media, giving them that experience beforehand to see like, okay, you know, they seem like they're going to be a little bit more, but I like what I'm seeing, as opposed to you come across someone's Instagram, they have their last posted 2 years ago, and then you email them, they don't get back to you for 6 hours, and then you finally get their pricing and it's like $10,000 and there's no connection there. So I think it all has to show across the board before you even get into that meeting.
Yeah, you want to serve.
Because I know someone asked you about that recently, about price shoppers and like where they're struggling to kind of connect or portray with people, and I think it's multifaceted.
There's a lot of things going on in that thread. And the thing is, and I've told this individual, and I'll tell everyone, right? When it comes to pricing, right, or price objections, and I think that's a good segue to our next question, right? Like the thing is, when you are trying to sell a particular value to your customer, right? You have to understand what that customer is looking for, right? For anyone to say, hey, you know, I have great customer service. Everyone loves working with me. I'm very personable. And you also get an engagement session, and you also get these pieces of art that you get to hang in your house, you know, and you get this and that, right? Well, the clients might not want all that stuff. You're selling a whole lot of stuff that they didn't ask for, you know? And I think that if you want to be a little bit more successful with combating price shoppers and things like that, right? You have to sell the value that is important to them, okay? You have to show that in everything that you do. And that way you're not putting out fires that don't need to be put out, right? When you're offering all this stuff, right? Like, hey, you know, you're going to get a second shooter because blah, 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 blah. You're going to get an album because blah, 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 blah. You're going to get this, and that, right? Well, maybe they don't care about that stuff. You're just answering questions that they didn't ask. I think the best thing that you can do as a business owner, as a photographer, videographer, florist, whatever it is, right? A small business owner, the best thing that you can do is ask more questions, see how your audience wants to be served, right? And if you can answer all their questions and provide all the value that's meaningful for them, you can charge whatever the hell you want. They'll pay it, because the thing is, you are taking care of a problem that they need to have taken care of, right? It all starts with asking questions, asking the right questions. And I don't think people do enough of that. They're just busy pitching themselves. You know what I mean? Book me, book me, book me. I'm awesome. Look at all my awards. Look at all this. I got 1 million followers. You should book me. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Like maybe they don't care about that stuff.
Yep. And the people that do, they book you. If not, it's fine. You just kind of
You're also less confident when you're desperate. So if you come across desperate for that booking, that's gonna raise a red flag to me right away. If you're like, oh, I'll give you this if you book today, I'll give you that, and I'm just like, then you start to think the price is too good to be true, and then you're like, you know what, something's up here. You kind of alarm people a certain way. You just got to be confident too sometimes.
The thing that I want people to know, right? Everyone who's listening right now, the fact that these people reached out to you for a meeting, they already like your work. You're already like 50% into the door, okay? This consultation that you'll have with them is your opportunity to sell yourself, okay? And what I mean by that is like asking questions, providing value, serving those customers the way that they want to be served, all right? Instead of just plugging yourself the whole time, talking about your accolades and your awards and, you know, how awesome you are and how awesome you were at this other wedding. Maybe that's not how they want to be served. Serve them first. Okay.
Yeah.
You have a good chance of closing them already once they come in through the door. And if you're losing out to quote unquote price shoppers or whatever it is, then what that tells me is that you didn't provide the value that they were looking for. Okay. Because the thing is, people pay more for stuff all the time. There's a reason why Karis picked I'm very, very sure that it's going to be a very expensive sushi dinner for our anniversary dinner in a couple weeks. We're not going to the corner sushi place in our neighborhood for sure. Okay. Even though there's nothing wrong with that corner, even though there's nothing wrong with that corner sushi place around the corner from our house, I can rest assured that the place that she picked is going to cost me at least what I got tipped this past weekend. all my tip money is going towards this anniversary dinner, right? And the thing is, people pay more for stuff all the time. And the thing is, they do that because there's a certain value that they are getting in return for spending the extra money.
That brings me back to what we did this past weekend, because those were very expensive tickets. And the problem that we have in our household is my husband loves tangible items and I love experiences. So I had to finagle a little bit buy these tickets, because I was like, you know what it is? It's going to be valuable. It's going to be a memory. It's something that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives.
Once in your lifetime experience. Yes. And I did notice Rolando was the only one that wasn't wearing a jersey. You didn't want to buy one?
Yes. I bought one when we were in Argentina and he was like, I don't need a shirt. And then now look, he was the only one without it. It's fine.
Yeah. But the thing is,
I know about this, and you can use this for pricing to how to price yourself. People will spend more on experience than material things.
Of course.
Because what you spend on experiences is a lot more than I spend on material things.
Because it's worth it.
But the thing is, the customer has to value that experience, because some people, they just value the tangibles, right? Like, hey, listen, I don't need you here for more than 10 hours, you know? So if you're going to sell me 12 hours, I don't need the 12 hours. I only need 10 hours. You know what I mean? But the thing is, it's more than just that, you know, because the thing is, everyone on the planet, every good business owner out there, they're selling customer service. They're selling experience. They're selling, or when I say experience, I mean like the number of years that they've been in business, right? They're also selling an experience, right? Like how great, you know, that experience is going to be for them, right? Everyone is selling that, right? That doesn't make you any different. You need to dig deeper than that, right? You have to ask a lot of questions when you're in that consult and see how you can serve them better, you know? And the thing is, every customer's profile is going to be a little different, right? Like Karis attracts a certain profile, I attract a certain profile, right? Those needs are going to be a little bit different, right? But as you do this for a number of years, you're going to eventually find out that you attract a certain profile, and you just have to lean into it, right? Like Jay in our photo, when you ask them, hey, listen, why did you inquire with us? What did you like about our work? It's always going to be the same 3 adjectives every single time. You know what I mean? And if they just say, hey, I just like your photo because it's nice, it's just pretty, you know that you don't have as strong of a connection there. You just have to dig a little deeper and ask more questions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you have less of a...
I mean, we've had some of those. We do dig deep, but at the end of the day, it might be a price shopper, or like you said, they just want pretty photos, and that's fine. Like, you're not going to book every meeting, but at least... Yeah, but you are attracting the right people the majority of the time.
Yeah, the ones that tell me that, hey, I'm looking for just pretty photos and stuff. Now I know that my booking rate just went down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we still have to have this meeting? Can we cut it short? Like, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, but if they tell me, hey, listen, I like this about your work. I really love this. You know, people have been telling me this, and this is what I want. I know that I have a very good chance of booking them. You know, with an 80%.
Do you ever, when you're in a meeting, like when it starts off like that, do you then put the
noose around them, tie the noose around them?
No, I meant like condense your meeting, like shrink it down. Your usual
I do.
spiel.
I don't go through my whole spiel if I know they're going to book. I get maybe 2 of those a year.
And then you could kind of tell, like, if they really want to just hear like what you're offering, like really quick sales meeting, they're comparing apples to. Then, I know you get the feel, and you'd be like, okay, and they really don't want to hear more, about like the whole So I caught it short too.
Yeah.
And then like when you ask them, do you have any questions? They're like, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why prolong
I check
the pain?
out. I'm pretty much like this the whole time.
You're frozen.
Yeah. If I know that
if I know that like it's going good, I'll do a longer meeting.
Yeah. Or even really I might not even do a longer meeting. You guys, it sounds like you guys are ready to rock and roll. You guys want to take a look at the contract, and then let's get the ball rolling on that. Sometimes I won't go through the whole spiel. And also I look at the inquiry form too. Like I do have a, what do you call it? Like a form response that I send out to everyone. But if it sounds like, they really want to book us, I don't send them that whole template. I send them something else. I send them a different message, a more personalized message. Because like if they're saying, I'm just looking for packages and pricing, then I'll send you them the form response. But if they're like, I've been going through this search to find it, and your work spoke to me because XYZ and everything, they put a lot of effort into writing me an inquiry, I'll spend the time to write a personalized inquiry response for them.
What sucks for us lately is like we've been getting a handful of leads like that are, they've taken the homework to research our work and who we are, and then we're booked.
Yes.
Well, that's a good problem to have. You have overage to send over to Ben Lau.
Yeah.
But it's always, I think,
like a dagger.
It feels like it's always that same date. There's a year, every year there's one date or one weekend that like everyone wants.
Third week of May. It's the third weekend of May.
And
you know how many May 18th inquiries we have? May 18th. I think that's next year. That's a weekend, right? You have so many inquiries.
And then this year, September 16th? That
one was a popular one.
September 16th was like hell
September
popular.
16th. For some reason, November 10th is popular too for next year.
Yeah, November 10th is popular. We're available May 18th, Ben. You know where to send them. Actually, don't.
All right, so let's transition to the cool. to a related topic, right? Like when you guys do get these price objections, do you just let them go? Like, okay, I understand I'm out of budget. Or do you guys try to overcome that objection to get them across the finish line? Do you guys just let them slide, or you guys try to get them across the finish line?
Funny?
It depends how far they are from the finish line, to be honest. Like if it's something so small where like we kind of sense that they're very interested and they need something minor, for example, they need like an extra hour of coverage, we'll throw it in, we'll offer it in. But if they're like, a couple $1,000 away from our lowest collection, sorry, there's nothing we can do,
Yeah. And lately it hasn't been like they've come back and say, I'm not booking because we're out of budget. They just don't come back at all, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's been helpful. And
when they don't book, do you reach out and ask why they didn't book?
No.
Some people do that. I'm like, why? Why do you want to know?
Every now and then,
like if it was like a wedding we really wanted and that like we really jived with, and then I just kind of want to get an understanding of what happened.
Rare occurrences,
but it's like hasn't happened for like a year.
It's like it's no different than saying, why won't you go out with me? She said no. Doesn't matter what she says or he says. You know what I mean? Like a no is a no.
Yeah,
we've had like one of the answers that we got one time was our parents are paying for a photo, and they went with someone who like basically they felt was a better fit, which to me is the most stupidest thing like that someone could tell you. And I'm just like, so you let because your parents are paying, you're letting them dictate who you want as your photographers. Which
I think you'd be happy with,
but that also shows their level of caring.
Yeah.
For who's shooting their wedding.
I think it's better off that they didn't book you. Yep.
You might get some headaches from the parents.
Yep.
Potentially.
And from the children, because they will do everything that their parents will tell you. Wedding day will flow the way parents will. Yep. And
sometimes
we had one of those for we had one of those. Yep.
It is. I mean, sometimes it works out because the thing is, for a lot of my clients, the parents do pay for a lot of it. So
funny thing, a lot of like majority of my weddings, like parents are very little part of the wedding. It's the couple, and like parents are like in there, but they really have zero control. I love it.
So I guess the takeaway
Hands
here.
off.
I guess the takeaway here is that we don't try to overcome objections. I guess it depends on how far off we are. If it's a matter of just like, I don't know, just sweetening the deal just a little bit. Hey, you need a little OT, I'll give you an OT. Or if you need if you want me to waive travel, I'll waive travel. If they're asking us to shave off $1,000, $2,000, that's going to be a no for us as well. And it's okay.
For us, like
just for the hell of it.
Yeah, or removing the engagement session and giving, getting a discount. Yeah, no.
That comes with time and experience too, where you just don't care anymore.
Take it or leave it,
but
right?
that's because we are booked too busy, and we're just like, you know what, it is what it is. There's people who are starting out that don't have that luxury, so I just want to say that comes with definitely a lot of time and experience. Yeah.
Do I have Burger King stamped on my forehead? No, I don't. Right? You can't have it your way. This is my way or the highway.
Correct.
One of the craziest things that we heard one time was somebody we met with. They didn't even book us. They didn't book us for their wedding, but somebody who they met with. I don't know if this person was at a bridal show or whatever. So he asked them who they're meeting with, who else they're meeting with, and the couple told them, "Oh, I'm meeting with J&R Photography, whatever." He starts looking up our work, and he goes, "I could edit like them if you want me to.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
if you like their editing,
Was this
I
Blake
could
from Brooklyn?
edit your wedding."
Was this Blake?
No.
And it's like
You laugh because I think he would do that.
That's hilarious.
yeah, and it's like when you're adjusting like your product just to get the sale it's just a bad recipe.
Yeah.
You're gonna have issues down the road.
Yeah, just stay in your lane. Do what you're good at. Serve that. Everyone ends up with a happy ending after that. Okay. So I guess that's all we got for pricing. I mean, you guys have anything else to add?
Well, like overall,
Damn it, Ro! I'm kidding.
there's no
If there's more, because he'll give you more.
there's no set rule. Is what I'm saying. There's no set rule on how to price yourself.
Yeah, you gotta do you with this. Yeah.
Yes, do what works for you. Don't worry about the other people.
Yeah, don't worry
Yes.
about the other people. You
Yep,
do you.
don't worry
You
about
make
others.
enough. Yeah, just do your own thing. All right. They're not your competitors don't care about you. All right. So you don't need to care about them. You do your own thing.
Yep.
All right. So that's the moral of the story.
Correct.
This next segment is brought to you by the Focus AF Summit.
Why do you always change your voice?
well, no, because this is the transition.
We all know it's you.
So bad.
It could be Jen. We don't know that. All right. So you have a trend to share with us?
Yeah, a wedding trend. I guess I recently been aware of it within like, I don't know, a few months, but I guess it's been going on. I guess this is like since COVID. It's called Ugly Delicious Cakes. Have you come across one?
Yes. A couple years
You've
ago.
probably
Yep.
seen it.
I think we had a wedding.
You've probably
We had a
seen it
wedding like
either
that.
online, Instagram, at a wedding blogs, brides, a lot of it, green wedding shoes, a lot of them. I think it did start off in Europe. And so I was looking into it and, digging through deeper into it. So there is actually a deeper meaning to it where, it's not all about, I guess it relates to the Barbie move too. It's not all about, looking pretty and just the outside of it. So this trend came to be so that, it's ugly, but it's made out of what's available. It could be from your garden. You throw in an edible flower, you pick it, and you put it together. And it's not all about beauty of wedding cake, wedding trend, but it's really about deeper meaning. And it also represents cake that goes to zero waste. It has a lot of meanings, but
Like this?
I want, yes. Yes.
So did you have one at a wedding?
I didn't. I am waiting for that wedding, ugly, delicious wedding moment. I
think I photographed an ugly cake before.
Are you sure?
Was it on purpose, or
It's not just ugly cake.
It was intentionally ugly. It wasn't by accident that it was ugly. It was
and
intentionally
sometimes it's
ugly.
called. There's actually a vendor in New York. They're really famous for it. Their cake is not ugly, but they call it a rock cake. And, a lot of floral decor that's sticking out. And it kind of almost looked like a flower arrangement in a cake put together. So there's a lot of different variations of it happening. Some of that may look like, cake out of Dr. Seuss, or, cake your grandma threw together, or a little child made it, with a lot of icing and piping, and yes, ugly cakes.
So bad.
A lot of,
So bad.
also the trend of the
God,
whole
the cake is
retro
falling
coming
over.
back. Yeah, a lot of
anything that's a little
meaning
bit
behind
different
it.
from what we normally see, that's always very fun for us,
Yeah.
I've seen those, like the people are bringing back the 80s cake, the vintage cakes that are like tiered with the ladders in between. And like, did you have seen the ones that have like, this is a throwback to the 80s my parents had, like it has like the little fountain in the cake.
No.
Like the little red fountain.
There's an actual water
You haven't
fountain?
seen those from the 80s?
No, I haven't
So
seen
it's
that.
like so they're tiered. They have stairs, right? And you go to the top, and those are the next two tiers of cake. And then they used to have like little figurines of like the wedding party on the stairs, and then like the bride and groom on top. And then there would be like a little fountain in between the stairs, and it would be like a red fountain. I don't know what the red thing is.
Is it this one?
So it's like
Yes.
actual liquid?
I don't know.
Hold on,
We're
let's
gonna
see
send
this.
you a photo, but that's
That's so. Oh,
Oh, I can't
yes.
focus.
Send it
send
in
it
the
in the
chat.
chat.
Yeah.
So I can see
Yeah, we'll
it.
take a look.
all of it is coming back. Oh my gosh. Yep. But
It kind of looks like a cement mixing company.
I mean,
with little conveyors.
You know, my bride for next in Perona in a couple of weeks, she's like, yeah, we're gonna have a regular cake and we're having a cheese wheel cake. I was like, what? So it's like stacked cake, but of cheese wheels, and then they're gonna cut it.
Yeah. We've had fried chicken cake.
Was it actual
Ooh.
cake or was it there was a fried chicken in there?
Yeah, fried chicken in there.
Interesting.
Fried chicken cake.
Was it like stacked like chicken?
So there was actual cake, and then outside of it was like fried chicken, like attached to it. So it wasn't.
Oh my god, that sounds incredible.
Per se, but
I like when people have their own kind of cake. They do what they want. It doesn't have to be the fancy, pretty cake. Just whatever you eat is fun. Change it up.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we have any tea?
Oh, the ones that we've seen this week were really like,
with about
depressing,
no
sad.
bookings.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah,
I've talked
it's
to
like,
some people. They got
people going
three bookings for 24, and these are people who had very full careers, 30, 40 weddings a year, and then next year they only got 3. And I was like, what?
Well, Ro had a good theory that like people started slacking off in the last 2 years because they got so much work that they didn't keep up with like their marketing, like their customer
their
service,
websites,
and then just before they knew it, it was a new year, and then like it just kind of fell off.
Yeah. And by the time the drop off happens, it's too late.
It's too late.
You know, the damage is done. And now you got to think about the next 3 to 6 months, because there's all these changes that you have to make are not gonna speed up.
They're not gonna take hold for another 6 to 12 months.
It's gonna take like 3, 6, 9 months to get more reach and get more inquiries in. Like it's too late.
Yeah, we got inquiry and we're meeting with them tomorrow for 2026. I'm like, so we're just gonna skip 2025?
Yeah, what happened?
26. Wow, that's really good.
I have no weddings yet for 25, but and she's very interested because she's a friend of clients that we've shot in the past, and she saw our pricing. So we're basically just a meeting. But I'm like, so I'm gonna have a 2026 wedding before I have a 2025 wedding.
Yeah, I got some 25s that rolled in. I got some, you guys got nothing for 25?
25s are rolling
Not
in.
yet, no.
Yeah, we got some for 25.
Yeah, we've gotten like a handful of inquiries.
For
2025.
Still people from 2024 emailing.
Yeah.
So
if you guys are listening to the podcast and you guys are struggling with bookings for 25 or even 2024, right? I would say, SEO, social media, and network, right? Your referral network. Those are your free methods. Work on those, right? Reestablish those relationships again. Stay on top of your social media. Stay on top of your SEO.
Blog.
Yeah, that's like the bare minimum, right? And I think a lot of people who are struggling, they're not doing that bare minimum, right? And if you guys want to kind of boost that a little bit, because back to what Ro was saying earlier, all those results, you're not going to see anything for 6 months, maybe, all right? But if you needed results like yesterday, you're going to have to probably pay for traffic. And I'm not talking about like Wedding Wire or The Knot, but like trade shows would be a good option for you. Ads would be a good option for you. But the thing is, trade shows are going to be a lot easier. They are a little bit pricier, but they're going to be easier to do, right? And if you have the patience for it and you're willing to put in the work, ads can also work for you. And that's what I'm going to be teaching next week. Yeah. But this episode will come after my class. So we don't have to plug that.
No. And the thing with trade shows, like from our experience, you're not going to book any weddings for that year at a trade show. It's very rare. Everyone's there for the following.
And you live off the retainers for a little while.
1 year out or 2 years out.
Yeah, but live off the retainers for now, right?
Meeting with.
Yeah, eat some Spam, eggs, and rice for a few months, right? Until the rest of the retainer, rest of the money comes in. But I think for the first 3 years, Karis can correct me if I'm wrong, right? For the first 3 years, we were living off of the retainers every winter.
Yeah, literally, that's what we did.
Yeah,
that's nature of a job, especially in the winter.
We're not doing anything in the winter, so we're just eating Spam, eggs, and rice over the winter. So I guess
you guys still have spam from the pandemic.
I do.
We're never out of spam.
There's always spam in the Loud House for sure.
always.
All right. So hopefully everyone found a little bit of value in today's podcast. What to do when it comes to their pricing. How to price themselves and You know, making sure that they're not being too aggressive with their pricing, understanding how to hopefully provide more value to the customers who are coming in through the door. I guess if you guys have more questions about pricing, right? Leave those questions in the comments in our Facebook group or on Instagram. Wherever you guys find us. Yeah, wherever you guys find us. Who's closing out today? I did a lot of talking today.
Always you, Ben.
Yeah, it's you. No one's ready. Ro will.
Ro will do it.
No, he will not.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Focused AF. For highlights, bloopers, and BTS, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at focus.af.
Guys, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys on the next one.
See you.
Adios.
Bye.
Focused AF is a fun, business-focused podcast for wedding creatives.
Co-hosted by award-winning husband and wife wedding photography teams, Ben and Karis.
And Jen and Ro, where we help fellow wedding creatives with their sales and marketing.
With laid-back conversations and real talk with some of our most favorite people in the universe.
And with that being said, are you Focused AF?
I am Focused AF today.
We are Focused AF.
I think I might be Focused AF.
Welcome to the Focused AF podcast.